Hi there. Let's do a quick walkthrough of the alpha version of Rectangle. Rectangle is a tool that allows you to build better models by gaining a deep understanding of your data. And for the demo, I thought it would be cool to walk through a recent paper that a friend of mine sent me, where the team at DeepMind looked into an eval set built by OpenAI and found a lot of problems. So this is simple QA. It was created by OpenAI to test the parametric knowledge, which means how much does the model know when it has no access to search tools. And you can also think of it as a way to see how much the model has a tendency to hallucinate. They found a lot of things. They did a lot of manual work. The big things that they had a problem with was around the topic distribution and duplicate topics on the data set. And they reduced the size of the data set by doing a lot of manual filtering, a lot of processing, and brought it down to one-fourth of its size. So let's see, one, if we can get to the same conclusions that the DeepMind team did with Rectangle. And two, is the DeepMind team actually making some trade-offs as they remove these things? So let's get started. Let's sign in. Simple enough. And you will be taken to the dashboard. Now, Rectangle is not just data set analysis, and this will be very apparent the moment you come to the landing page on the dashboard. You can analyze your data, but take those learnings to evaluation and see where your model fails on the eval sets and trace it back to the data. Now, I want to be careful when I say trace it back because a model's output is not just data, but more often than not, when these large models do errors, it's usually something in the training data that was bothering you. So this tool will allow you to understand what exactly those things are. And when you notice those eval failures, trace them back to the initial data. You can also do data injection to add contrastive examples and make your model better without overfitting to the data. But let's start with the compare model that is currently live. Now we got to add the data sets. And it is simple enough as you can just search Hugging Face and you will see a split. We will, since this is Viva, we'll test. And this is actually not only downloading, this is actually doing a pre-analysis of the data set, looking into what it looks like in terms of text. Because an analysis of a data set with research papers looks very different than this type of short form text. So it's live adjusting a lot of parameters that it's going to use based on what the data sets look like. And you can upload it directly as well. So this is the Google set. And those parameters are things like cluster sizes, how strict you want the clusters to be, because in the end, when you're comparing topics, they need to have both a high recall and high precision. And this is something that we always had to do manually, but now we don't have to do it manually. So I'm going to pick the two eval sets that we want to test and then click compare. And now it's going to read fields. It's doing more than reading fields. This is kind of a trend with this, but it's going to one, let you choose which field you want to analyze because you don't want to analyze things like index position. And let's pick eval. And it's going to further adjust more parameters around keyword extraction, what methods to use, what methods to optimize on based on the two data sets that it's going to be comparing. Now it's going to start the comparison process. For about 5,000 rows, we'll be looking at around 5 minutes. This is because it's going to give us an analysis in three different lenses. Now I'm going to use the magic of editing and travel to the future once the analysis completes. Looks like we're wrapping up and seeing the results. One thing I want to mention about the alpha is that it's currently limited to data set size below 50,000 rows. I'm using very cheap hardware for the alpha, but of course, this can be lifted. So let me know if you want to test the larger data sets or use better hardware to conduct some analysis. Now, let's take a look at the results. So I previously mentioned three lenses. The first lens I want to look at, which is the most atomic lens, is the entity comparison. So we extracted entities from each data set, and now we can look and compare, okay, at the base knowledge level, what do these data sets talk about? And you can see that, of course, by nature of Google said it's a subset of OpenAI's. So naturally, it is within the Venn diagram. But there's about 19 entities that don't occur in OpenAI's one. And you can kind of see the distribution of everything. Now, one cool thing about Rectangle is it not only looks into entities and, maybe you're familiar with like sorting them by common ones, but it does categorization of the entities as well. And the levels are kind of up to you. These are settable. So you can just have it as, people, things, places, and just have maybe like 10 show up here. But I do love this level of detail because I can be like, okay, if I'm building a QA that needs to know about lawyers or certain computer scientists, then this data set, by going with Google's one, you will be missing out on the knowledge of these if you go ahead and evaluate on them. And you can see the shared ones as well in a similar nature. But again, these are settable. The paper mentions the use of TF-IDF. Rectangle uses BM25. And you can see with high importance, a district in Colombia, a municipality in Colombia, keeps coming up as an important entity that's missing from the Google set. They actually write about this, say there's like too much of this piece of entity in there. So we arrive at the same conclusion immediately. And a little bit more, we can see that questions about severance have been removed and World of Warcraft as well. But you can see the importance drops over time, and we don't really show anything below 15% importance. So that's on the atomic scale, but knowledge is not just about knowing a certain entity, it's also about the interactions of the language between keywords. So that's why we need to look at topics. So Google, because they removed so much, the data set actually didn't have any topics because nothing actually repeated more than once, except one topic about educational institutions in an area of India. Whereas with OpenAI, there's a lot of topics, a lot of questions that talk about the same thing. So something like The Circle American, which is apparently a TV show, there's a lot of questions on that. So if this is important to you for evaluation, these will not be evaluated if you go with the Google set. Um, and even if a row of data has the same entity as another row of data, they can be very different. Who is Tom Ford is very different than how old is Tom Ford. So we have to look at what the data sets also each row intends to do or to ask in this case. So again, not surprisingly, one's a subset of the other. A lot of the intents are shared, like finding historical event dates, finding the somebody's birth date. But OpenAI actually has a lot more intents that do not occur on the Google set, like finding the recipients of certain prizes and identifying music tracks. So if in your evaluation, if you had an LLM and you were trying to pick, okay, I want to test the parametric knowledge of it, you will be missing out on about 100 intents from your evaluation. So I think we can answer the two questions. One, we can get to the same conclusions that the DeepMind team did in about 5 minutes. And also we can see a lot of the things in their blind spot, but not looking at intents and not looking into certain entities that might be of high importance to test LLM's knowledge. But this is just eval versus eval. let's test something around training versus eval. So let's say we're a bank. We have a customer agent on our platform, and our team has trained it, but it's doing really bad on certain types of things. And they keep telling us it's generative, it's a black box. Do we unship this? And you can be like, no, I ran it on Rectangle. I know exactly what is going on. So these are some of the most common data sets. So HWU is a intent data set for agents that has some banking stuff, and Banking 77, as the name suggests, is a evaluation set for banking agents. So immediately the distribution looks very different. And there's only a small set of shared entities between the two. And there's a lot more, which is expected at HW64 because it's more than just banking. But again, just like the other set, you can go in and then you can see, okay, we both talk about documents, euros, pesos, but the banking only one looks into certain countries, and the other set looks into also has questions about singers and artists and retail chains and urban areas. So there's a lot that you probably didn't need to train on that you trained with. And there's a lot that the eval set is asking that you have no training data on. So this gives you an idea of why certain things might be going wrong. This is too general. Okay, what are some high importance gaps? Well, looking immediately, there's no mentions of ATMs in the other data set. There's no mentions of PINs, cash withdrawals, things about MasterCard that, somebody who's a banking customer might ask. So you kind of get a better idea. Um, but again, these are just entities. What about certain topics that are kind of at a higher level? So in the eval sets, and let's say for the sake of conversation, this is a user data set. So if a lot of users are asking about payment methods, your agent is not trained on them. If they're asking about converting AUD to GBP, you're not trained on them. And you can get the idea. International transfers from France, so they're not in there. And things unique to the data set that you trained on, there's some stuff here, but Mumbai to Goa train tickets. And we probably have all been here where we trained on data sets that have nothing to do with the actual application. And then somehow we're surprised when things don't go as well. And this is a perfect place where you can be like, oh, actually, let me remove all of this stuff and just focus on what my customers are saying and then train on that. These are, again, very short form, so intents matter a lot. So let's see. So they both talk about like finding currency exchange rates, some currency conversions, even solving math problems. Uh, but the customer set, again, in this case, would be solving exchange rate issues or bank transaction issues that the training set does not have. And you can see the individual samples of training rows here as well. And you kind of ended up training a lot of adjusting room lighting for sleep, or booking a train ticket to a location, or maybe a couple more examples that might hit home close, like Reddit data, or Twitter data, or YouTube transcripts, or things that might never be asked by your users. So Rectangle can show you what is going on, give you the intersection, give you both a high level and a low level, so that you can curate your data sets to remove and add things that will delight people in the end and ship AI projects. So yeah, this is a good overall view of what the alpha version can do. More modules will become live as I complete them. So yeah, play around with it. Let me know what you think. Thank you.